All right, folks. Hello, we're there. Welcome back to the Regulators for another week. It's just myself, Dave, and of course Terry Van Horn, SEO Pros, SEO Dojo, and it's just us. And I'm sure we'll be fine. Oh yes, I keep forgetting we're actually live. So yeah, for the people out there, if you want to come on and share in the abuse, you're quite welcome. Let us know on the event page and. Frank Watson's already in the Q&A saying, let the games begin. There we go. Very good, Frank. So, yeah, anybody who wants to come on and help us abuse the world for a week, you're quite welcome. We're showed-up hosts today.
Yes.
All right. So where do we start? I don't know. Should we start on Fight Club? No. We'll just leave
we
that
will
there.
not talk about Fight Club.
That's right.
Fight Club. That's the way it's
First
done.
fucking rule, man.
Hey, how can you have a fight club that you're fucking promoting the way... Well, okay, let's just move.
All right.
Okay.
So I guess we'll start with the obvious this week, which is let's see. Let's go to the PDL first. Why not? All right. So apparently we got a PDL rollout.
Yeah, personally, I can't figure that query space out.
Have you seen anything? Did you look at
I'm actively working with one now. And
yeah, but you guys are UK, and doesn't that usually take a little longer to get there?
I don't even know if it's that. I just know that this is the weirdest fucking query space I have seen in my 20 years. And I've been watching this one for a while. I can't make any head nor tails of it. It makes literally no sense to me. It's like something that, it's like these are being fucking handpicked. You might as well say it's almost like they're paying. I wouldn't be surprised to see the top ones all are happening to do PPC. That's my personal. I haven't even looked. That's just a gut feeling. Having, let's see, started in PPC in this industry in what, 7 years ago in this.
Oh, hold on. Ammon, you tool. Ammon, it's in the Dojo green room, dude. That's in the Regulators green room. Anyways, hold on, sending invites. Sorry, folks. You'll have to hold on while we go collect Ammon Jones.
But all these things are running together, you know.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there's also, of course, we had this yesterday as well, right? So, you know, and you know, when's the last time we saw them actually confirm a Panda? I don't know. Been a while.
The last time it was an actual rollout of an update. People don't understand. There are updates and there are refreshes. We get a refresh probably every 4 to 5 weeks.
Right, so you figure that's because they've done a major tweak to it. That's why they're calling it 4.0 and a rollout as opposed to a refresh. So that's why they're making the statement.
Yeah, that also means penguins right around the corner.
Well, yeah, and there's the thing because I've been watching. Back in the day, I guess Webmaster World was, and I think Barry still uses them as his sort of gauge, but. Various private groups I'm in now, Facebook and elsewhere, people have been going on about stuff for about a week now. It first started around the 13th, a bunch of guys saying they saw something at the 13th. Ooh, is this the beginning of Penguin? Then some other guys chimed in, dude, just like Webmaster World, started chiming in. I saw some stuff on the 6th. I saw some stuff on the 7th. And then so madness ensues, right, dude? And I'm thinking, really, if I'm a Google engineer, I'm just pushing buttons and watching these people freak out.
That's the smart down there. Let's see how high we can make them jump, folks.
So then Dr. Pete chimes in with the Moz temperature thingy they've got and whatever, and he's like, well, we saw temperatures on this day and that day, and I'm reading through this thread, dude, just laughing. I'm like, just, the sky is falling, the little chicken, running around everywhere. I couldn't help myself.
It's hard to fathom it sometimes. Nice pink hue you have there today, Ammon.
Yeah, on another computer, and this one has never been properly set up. I haven't got any of my software on this one.
That is sexy.
Oh, no toys today. Oh, this is gonna be boring.
That is so sexy. So yeah. Apparently the world's going mad. And you know, it's all just a big smoke screen, and Penguin is running underneath. Penguin's running underneath, and nobody knows.
The world can't get much madder than it started.
You know, I think Panda's more like a maintenance algorithm that's running all the time, and then you have major updates that actually.
Well, you know, we said it years ago that these things will eventually become the thing of lore. You know what I mean? We'll talk about Panda and Penguin. They'll actually get incorporated fully, and you know, be at the time well, not the time of indexing, but the time of scoring and what have you. They'll be in the data process.
They're not that much different than the Google Dances, right, Ammon? In that both were actual updates of some part of the ranking factors, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. That's exactly what I was saying to somebody yesterday. You said, you know, is this Penguin that's come along? And I said, no. The way it's going, it's a major update. There's no doubt about that. I'm hearing about it everywhere. But this actually feels like the first Google dance in 8 years. You know, the way it's rolling through the SERPs is just, it's not like anything we've seen. It's not even like the pandas we've seen before.
And that's what I think, because again, I've seen not only my own things I'm looking at, but talking to lots and lots of people. There's a lot of different things going on. You know what I mean? As someone who picks apart algorithms for a hobby, you know what I mean? I'm seeing evidence, even though it's anecdotal, that is just totally different things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a combination of a lot of factors that, and it's a slow grind to zero. That's what's really kind of, I think people should really take, you know, really watch their traffic and their analytics. And if you see it going the wrong way, for long periods of time, start trying to figure out you've already got a problem.
Yeah, and of course, you know, the paranoid part, even of me, is saying, why have they rolled out so many things together? Is there something else they don't want us to see?
Dude, you're not crazy, because that's the first thing I think. Because I do understand these guys and how they battle against us or spammers or whoever you know. That's the first thing I actually think of, because if I was in their shoes, knowing how I understand them, I would do that. You know, it's like I said on my Facebook or wherever, is this a smokescreen for something else? And that's always my first thought, are they trying to slip something in there while everyone's busy looking at penguins and pandas and PDLs? And
if you look at the refreshes, they're almost always on the weekend, right? When people aren't really sitting there watching things as closely, and updates seem to happen through the week.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of the patterns I've seen, and a lot of that. When you look at it, right? When the first Panda ran, you could actually feel it after Christmas. Dave and I started getting.
Terry, if you really want to get the tinfoil going, Terry, what's something else we said that was going to happen this year?
Oh, there's going to be an update of infrastructure.
Right.
In the next 18 months.
2006 was Big Daddy. 2010, 4 years later, was caffeine. So now we're 4 years on from that. You know, is there some sort of infrastructure change happening? Because, again, Hummingbird wasn't as much an infrastructure change on processing as it was about algorithmic processing of natural language and
that we saw, but I've got a feeling that there was some infrastructure change to that too.
Yeah.
The way it seems to be so obviously pulling from different sources at times now, where you can see that some bits are coming in really fresh and they're not subject to the same.
But a lot of the caffeine parallel processing would probably cover that, wouldn't it? You know what I mean? Like, that's something they got with caffeine.
You'd think so, but if any didn't, then that would require an infrastructure change, or even if it just needed doubling in size.
Wouldn't the ability to surface that stuff off of Google Plus so fast, that would probably require a bit of an infrastructure change, because do you think they're indexing it, or is it like kind of almost?
I think some of it's almost like they've got a different index that they're pulling in that belongs partly to Google Now. It's a very fresh.
Yeah, and Google Now and those cards are almost the same as we see with the knowledge graph and everything else. So I think Google Now is something to be watching. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that could be where the infrastructure changes for mobile computing going through the roof, eh? The tablets and whatnot.
Well, you think of Google Now and the Google Now cards, Terry. I know you see this stuff a lot, but they're a lot like knowledge graph stuff, meaning entity identifications and presentations. So, like Ammon was intimating, if they're keeping a lot of this stuff separated in different servers and then feeding it on a need-to-know basis or feeding it on a call basis, for sure, I could see something like that.
Yeah, for sure.
It makes it easier for them to work with it. It makes it easier for them to dial up and down how much of it they're using.
Yeah.
But the thing that is making me so paranoid about this update, that they've got something else going on, is when you introduce an update, they always have to then adjust it after it's come through. If you do 3 at the time, something goes wrong. How do they know which one?
Yeah, collateral damage.
This makes their job harder to do 2 at a time.
Yeah.
They can't now see what Penguin is doing against what the query refresh is doing. So it's not standard operating procedure. It's not something Google has ever wanted to do before. In fact,
right. That's my confusion. What is really going on? Because, like you're saying, you got false positives everywhere if you try to do any kind of quality testing on either of these. Now, PDL, I guess, within reason, because it is a bit of a segmented space, but I think the PDL thing's also sort of thin content.
Well, 3 things even, because you've got the authorship changes at the same time. The snippets have totally changed.
Yeah. So something is afoot. It just has no name, and we really like names.
The stock update, because it's afoot.
Well, I remember I was looking back at the first Penguin for some, Panda, for a client or someone the other day, and I remember I realized when I went to the first post I could find, Search Engine Land called it the Farmer Update, remember?
Yeah.
And then Google told us what the real name was, so we do like our names. All right, well, there you go. Where to? How do you follow that up? I don't know.
Yeah, well, we'll have to call it the Sparta update, because there seem to be about 300 different things going on.
Yeah, I expect Penguin to run this weekend.
Well, I'm half expecting it.
It happened on a long weekend last year. That's how I remember.
Again, something. Yeah, I would just be crazy if it did. I just as a historian, I almost wish it would. So I could go, I was there in the big crash of 2014, man. You should have seen that week.
If you overlay 2013 over 2012, they almost line up. The Penguin algorithms, and I guess including this, the one they call payday loan. I call it the anything where there's fucking money to be made algorithm.
I mean, the fact is, it could even be that there is an old-fashioned Google dance going on to an extent, because you've got so many things kicked out of the algorithm by the new Panda, the query-specific changes, because, we know about payday loans, but, there might be another 1 or 2 in there that they thought, why not? And, maybe they've just decided, you know what, instead of just the normal progressive change, let's do a full-on change. Recalculate page rank as well.
And even speaking, I guess, to our earlier point, it's entirely possible their quality assurance stuff has gotten better over the years too. You know what I mean? Maybe they are able to test things at a larger scale than they used to once before, and establish how well it's going to work, and better benchmarks in place. So.
Or of course, they know exactly what everything except Panda is doing, so it's not as confusing for them. That's the safe play on it.
If you don't already, guys, make sure you have your Q&A up, because our other Australian regulator that just seems to be in the Q&A all the time, he's talking away, so we have to speak for him. When will Kissmetrics roll out the report? Oh. Probably about the same time that, let's see, Searchmetrics rolls out their report. How's that? And then winners and losers. I haven't seen them do that in a while, actually. Forex Space is dancing, yeah. Okay, yeah. That's the wherever there's to be made money space, Terry.
Yeah.
All right, I guess next up was something like that. Good thing that Ammon's here, because it's more of an EU thing at the moment. But yeah, apparently this. Who didn't see this coming?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's such a ridiculous. It's a ridiculous law from everything I've seen of it so far.
Yeah, I appreciate the sentiment, but you just see this was going to go badly.
Oh, gotcha.
What was this in Search Engine Land? No, where was it? I saw one, Marketing Land or somewhere. There was like all kinds of people, from murderers and everything on down the line.
Yeah, everyone's going to vote.
Oh, here it is. 10 people who want to be forgotten by Google. A politician who behaved badly, a doctor with poor reviews, convicted pedophile. Wow. Celebrity child's criminal past, business with bad reviews. Look at this stuff, man. Attempted murderer. Yeah.
Well, so, that tax dodger is exactly what I said about it at the time. If there is now a right to be forgotten, I want it applied to the tax office, so they can't hit me for any taxes over 6 weeks. They haven't collected it by then, tough. They've got to forget it.
Yeah, but that's why they do those kind of things to Google.
But exactly. But this is the point. It's a legal record. It never goes away. That court always has details of the cases it's tried. Always, forever. That's how it works.
Well, in a few of these articles,
because it's indexed one, it's just ludicrous. It's not like Google have put in a fake date on it.
Yeah. You can get your record expunged in Canada pretty easily.
So
even at the court records go as well.
Yeah, pretty sure.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
because usually, of course, the court has to keep a public record of all the stuff it's been doing. It's accountable.
I think I don't know.
I know that it's not of record that you could look up on a government site or anything.
Another thing that occurred to me, dude, was that a couple of articles I'd read in the last couple of days about this is Google's trying to figure out how to interpret this law and how to go about the process. It's like a DMCA thing almost. You know what I mean? And so, spokespeople at Google have still not said how they're going to go about this and everything else. And something funny occurred to me. With all the people that run around screaming about Google thinks it's the fucking, world and how Google's judging them, this and that, somehow from what I'm getting from this, the judgment leaves this decision-making up to Google again. So it's actually having the opposite effect of what these privacy dickheads are after. That now they've actually given Google more power to decide who and should be and shouldn't be taken off and da-da-da.
Well, I think it'll just be a form people go fill out and it automatically. Probably something just goes and does it automatically.
That's exactly what they should probably do. They should put up a little form, you fill it in, and what it does is, at the very front end, when you click a result that's been flagged as, this one shouldn't be shown, Google instead sends them to a page saying, we're sorry, we can't show this page because this paedophile has asked that we not show it.
Yeah.
That'll stop them. And put it this way, it says paedophile no matter what the crime was, because, oops, sorry, bug.
Yeah.
Paedophile can't be found. 404.
Oh, fuck, Frank's fucking trolling us. All right, we'll get to that one in a bit, Frank, because actually, we love anything Eric Schmidt does on this show. Okay, just to segue quickly before we get into what Frank's throwing us here. Then I saw this. All right. Which I thought slightly related again. you know, it gets me thinking because we've all had to deal with clients with, well, no, I don't know, but ORM stuff where there's bullshit on rip-off report, and it's irritating because the authority that site holds, like a fucking Wikipedia for ORM. But at other times, I've talked to people who said, no, actually, I had a bad service from somewhere, and I reported it there, and I wanted it to go on record. And so I'm always kind of torn on this service. But apparently Yahoo's just dropping it all together in
Well, because
Australia.
it's like fucking this extortion. Sorry. You know how many messages I get a fucking day from those things? I mean, literally, probably one of the biggest sources of spam for me are those fucking things.
Wow, you have an interesting client list.
Yeah, but so at the end of the day, though, doesn't this become, isn't it a bit like directories, a trusted directory and a not trusted directory? Does Google have to give less authority to a site that, might not always be on the up and up, and they're not really policing their own information well,
Exactly. If these were paid links, then we'd expect Google to get rid of them. Just because the payoff happens to be in slating a competitor doesn't change the fact that that link is not genuine, that complaint is not genuine, that what's being said about the company, you can't say it is. Some of them are 100% genuine, some of them are, we know, 100% fake. And as long as there's that element of doubt, yeah, they shouldn't be in the search results.
Which is funny because if you read the patents on their own sentiment analysis stuff, meaning they talk about dropping, like, let's say there's a person that only bitches about things. Drop them from the calculation. If there's someone who only says positive things, drop them from the calculation. They have a bunch of things they try and do with sentiment analysis. But I wonder, are they really running it on something like Ripoff Report? Are they actually, because within this was for like Google Local and stuff like that, reviews within the Google system, so they could trace the entity back to a user, blah blah blah. Are they doing that on that level over there? I highly doubt it. Are they tracking each user to see what they've done in sentiment analysis?
No, I bet you not. Okay, let's not just do Ripoff Report, right? Better Business Bureau. That's kind of the same stuff. For instance, I got a complaint here in Canada from a U.S. company, right? They can't even fucking supposed to be able to complain about me because they're not in Canada. You know what? There was no Toronto office because it was shut down by the government for fraud. That's in the papers. You can go look it up. So this other outfit out of a city close to Toronto actually published the thing. They couldn't keep it up long because the guy was obviously lying. I looked up in their charter, saw that the guy obviously, they shouldn't have even taken his complaint because it was turned down in the States because I was in Canada. It was a joke. And what do I get? Stuff from them. Oh, if you want help with this, pay us and we'll help you get rid of it. No thanks. And, by the way, I'm not giving you nothing and I'm going to fight this.
Apparently Frank even has an article on this over on Search Engine Watch.
There you go. I know someone else prominent in the business who disappeared for a while because of a rip-off report.
Hard to believe.
I love that picture of Frank, by the way. You tell me that if you zoomed out, you wouldn't see a pint glass in his hand.
Yeah, you can tell the way the head's tilted, the shoulder. Yeah, there's definitely
He's got that "I love you, man" smile on his face.
That's awesome. All right. And so where to next? Let me see. What else do we have on the docket this fine day? Oh, Terry, I don't know. I hate to bust people's balls, but we do. It's what we do. I'm sorry.
If they need busting, we're the guys to do.
Well, again, I love Barry, I love Danny, I love fucking Matt. They're buddies. I don't mind hanging out with them, but stuff like this bothers me. Are you really hit by a search engine penalty, or is it something else? Have you really been hit with a penalty? blah, 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 blocked indexation. Maybe it could be this and that. Market changes. Okay, sure, sure, sure. Um,
You state the obvious that you go to analytics.
I think I
yeah.
know exactly where she's coming from, though. I mean, I do hear, when you go through the forums and stuff, you do get a lot of people saying, "Oh, I've been hit with a penalty," and you say, "Right, what's Google sent you? What notification have you got? Oh, none. Then you probably haven't been hit with a penalty. You may have been hit by a filter."
Right, and this is
But that's where you find the problem is in analytics.
This is exactly the direction I was headed, Eamon, is because that I know everyone loves to call Penguin a penalty, but it's not, and get used to it. Like I said earlier, it'll become lore eventually, and we'll just talk about it because it'll be part of the algorithm. So okay, it's a dampener, it's not a fucking penalty. But the other problem is all of this section in here all it talks about is links. And you wouldn't believe, Eamon, how many people that are so-called, well, they are professionals, they're making a living doing this, so when I start to tell them that there's 9 different manual actions, there's a thin content manual action. Most people don't even seem to know that. There's just like there's Penguin and there's unnatural links, there is fucking Panda, and there is a manual action for thin content.
Yep.
There is pure spam manual actions. There is a 9, I think, actual manuals. I don't know. I've got an article somewhere. But point being is that there are again, like you were saying, there's filters, there's penalties, there's reconfiguration of algorithms in the query space. There's pandas and penguins. Those are all just algorithmic adjustments. They're not penalizing you. The only thing that qualifies as a fucking penalty is something you see in Webmaster Tools that says you have a manual action limiter site-wide. Now you got a fucking penalty.
Yeah, but to most people out there, Dave, a penalty, anything that they don't like, right, or that is negative, is a fucking penalty to them. That's because they don't really understand how things work. We're back to that again, folks. Don't know how things work. Here's the thing. The first thing that you look at for any time there's a disruption in traffic is the frickin' analytics. If you're looking at indexes and everything, you're looking at a symptom, not the problem. So you go and look at analytics, and then you can check it across actual dates and verify that something may have happened. Then you can go to the other things. It's just ass backwards. They don't know where to start because most of them haven't really done this very much. It's the new service in town, and everybody's suddenly a fucking expert. How long have I been doing forensics and this kind of stuff? Probably longer than most of them have been doing SEO. That's just specializing in this side, right, Ammon? This is the thing. Okay. I've said my piece. I
think a lot of confusion is when somebody themselves hasn't done anything wrong, but their links come from a few sources that were absolutely ripe to be hit, and their link network, their background links. It's not that the links to them are necessarily bad. It's just that they probably don't count for diddly squat anymore. So they've got no juice because all of those have been devalued. And, I've seen that so many times. The difference there is, with a lot of filters and penalties, you see a cliff face drop off. When you see a diagonal drop off, a slow drop off over the course of 3-4 days rather than within a day or two, most of the time you're going to be looking and saying, right, part of it is that where your links were coming from, those don't count anymore. Well, they're not hitting you, you're not penalised, but there's just nothing in them anymore that's worthwhile.
But here's the thing. Google has been saying for a long time, we ignore some links. I was thinking about what Ray Hoffman said in the Grumpy Old Guys, right? Well, the kind of links that she described, Google has come out and said, we don't count those kind of links. Don't bother doing anything about them. Not a big deal. So she was right. But here's the thing. Google also said so many things that they reversed. It can't hurt to have it in your disavow file. But she was right in that they understand that that's crap links. They're not counting that.
This one was culled from the search engine land, not to keep beating up on them, but it was from their Search Cap, which is a daily newsletter out to the world. And this was the complete guide to manual penalty removal. And of course, we're going to find the same problem here, gentlemen. Okay, they actually talk about algorithmic and manual. All right, good.
What do they?
All right, no, wait. Terry gets good here, man. Don't worry. Manual actions. They talk about site-wide partials. Okay, good. And then they tell you how to fix them. Backlink profiles. And so, of course, the only manual penalty these fuckers talked about again was manual link penalties, as opposed to the other fucking 8 that it might be, or combination thereof. And so I just, again, was shaking my fucking head thinking, you know, everyone's so myopic on the link thing. Don't write a complete guide to fucking manual actions. Don't write a complete guide to manual fucking actions unless you're going to talk about all of them as opposed to just fucking one.
Yeah, but 90%.
Oh, wait, that's all you know about.
90% of them are links. So if you say it's a link problem, 90% of the time you're right. But they probably also have Panda problems or other algorithmic problems that are on their site that they're not even looking at, nor have they considered, because the guy who's running the campaign doesn't have a fucking clue that there's anything wrong.
Which is why I always pull back the fucking timeline on any forensic gig when I start, because my basic opinion is if you were doing shitty link building, you were probably doing some other shitty things along the way too, so I'm going to go start looking for them. Because people don't tend to just do one stupid thing to a site. They tend to do multiple stupid things to their site.
Yeah, you see it always. It's always in the timeline on analytics. You can see it all. In fact, when you see dips, you should start annotating what you did at that time when that dip happened. Put it right on the frickin' timeline using an annotation so that when you look at that later, it's all right there. This is what I was doing. So when I update a website, I'm going to go to the analytics and put right in it, I updated the website at this point. See this for, you know, documentation. You know, because you know what? Things are going to get that complicated that you better start thinking like that, or you're going to be way
Anyone working on their website for the purposes of traffic or anything else should be documenting everything they do anyway, so that you can see when things go right exactly what it was, and when things go wrong exactly what it was. You document.
Especially with that weird conversion stuff that actually puts money in your pocket. Yeah, you might want to be tracking that shit.
Yeah, and also, you know, don't do 10 things at once. Don't get in a rush. Take your time. You know, let it percolate, ferment. You know, let it grow.
Yeah, are you listening, Google? Don't do 10 things at once.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I forward these shows to Matt every week. No. And please, I hope he's not ever watching this. All right, where to? Let me see what else I got on the docket. Oh, this one's good for Terry. He likes this one. Yeah, happy days, Terry.
Oh,
so, I am, and well, what do you, Terry?
Someone actually built a website, built traffic to it, and then sold it or rented it. My God, that's never been done. That's new. Oh, no. This stuff is hilarious, man. That's why I don't read it anymore. It's like, oh, fuck.
Anyways, apparently these guys are ranking legal websites and selling them to lawyers. Sounds like a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I mean, that's how a lot. There used to be guys that was their whole thing, right, Ammon?
Well, no, come on, dude. Well, back in the day, you actually ranked your sites and sold the leads. That's where the money was.
Oh, yeah,
to an extent.
Just sold the websites, too, and let the people collect their own leads. That was common as well.
I knew a lot of SEO companies, Dave, that they didn't want to rent. They wanted to build and sell, because there was a time, literally around 2000, if you had 1 million visitors a month, you know, you could actually charge ridiculous amounts of money. Somebody would actually pay $1 million if it was getting 1 million visitors a day. So, I mean, you could work out daily visitors $2. So yeah, you'd build up a site, get it that traffic, sell it. And you didn't
And
care if it would drop off the face of the earth
These
6 months
guys
later
are
because you
renting it.
didn't own
Well,
it.
that was common too, Ahmed, where an SEO company builds up a website, rents it to a company, right? And then that company moves on, someone else, they'll rent it to them. That was common until niche sites kind of got pummeled there for a little while, so that strategy quit working. But it works again because Google loosened up that policy. Of course,
Exactly. And as far as I remember, it started with you build and sell. Then people thought, oh, well, why am I selling? I should rent.
Yeah.
And then it got to, people like Barry Lloyd back in the day, if you remember, who just said, right, do you know what? I'm going to build the site and sell the traffic. And using cloaking methods and other things, he'd just sell different companies X amount of the traffic.
Those things have been around for a long time, and there's nothing wrong with it. That's why I'm laughing at this, because it's probably someone new to the industry, thinks he's found, the latest fucking scam, and, it's perfectly legit. I mean, they even do that kind of stuff offline, right?
Wouldn't it really come down to how the link profiles hold up? Is it a house of cards or is it a legitly ranking site? You know what I mean?
They're renting it. That's why they're renting it, because it's a house of fucking cards.
Yeah,
it's probably a bit of both, in this day of all the nice, content marketing is king. Well, they didn't write this, so it shouldn't rank. Yeah, people are going to be upset about it. But, because it's all about us being individual snowflakes nowadays, isn't it? Our rankings are based on the fact that we're all individual snowflakes. We all deserve our individual links.
Meanwhile,
this really works well with a pink screen as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does actually. Yeah, that'll be part of the promo for the show going forward.
But yeah, if that site is up and ranking, why shouldn't they sell it? If you've built a business, I open a shoe repairer, and lots of people come in and start using it. What, you're saying I can't sell that business to somebody else? Oh,
what are you saying? That there's no history in the tech world of building a business just to have someone else buy it?
Apparently not.
Never heard of such a plan.
But even offline, passing on a business comes to everybody sooner or later. You're always thinking, right, I'm building up this business, but what is the end plan? Am I going to shut it down when I retire or pass it to my kids? Either way, it's got a new owner somewhere down the line.
All right, Frank said, did you see the part where they're associating blog posts that have been on these sites with whoever happens to be renting them now? Yeah, well, that's it. I think that's what Terry was saying before, or somebody. It's just someone moves in, someone moves out, someone moves in, someone moves out. Yeah, again, I'm sure that unfortunately, I think the link profiles are probably a house of cards. But imagine if you did it the other way, legitly written articles that gained organic links, the whole 9 fucking yards, and you rented out that space. Is there anything against Google terms of services? I don't think so, is there?
Well, Bob's question there, right, it is a bit iffy because, they've written these blog posts and then somebody buys it and then they change all the authorship. Yeah, because, there's never been a ghostwriter ever in the history of the world. Every sportsman wrote his own autobiography.
Yeah, like I said to someone the other day that Ask Abby has been alive for like 100 years and writing strong, and Morris the cat, still the same one. He's like fucking 90.
Yeah.
So
ghostwriting is, a common thing.
I'm doing some now for a rather well-known publication in the industry. Somebody had to go on vacation, so I'm kind of.
If there's an SEO out there who has never written content in the name of their client, I'll be very interested to hear from you.
Yeah.
I wonder what the hell you've been doing.
Yeah.
Well, actually, if you're working for a client, that's exactly what it is, because you don't own it. You don't own it. The client does.
Yeah, it's just in this case they've invested the work up front instead of afterwards. What's the difference? So, yeah, non-story really, apart from laughing at the people who think it is a story.
Or a big deal, like. I didn't get it, like what the kerfuffle was like. Yeah.
It was a slow news day.
I would tell someone who was being offered a deal like that, be careful. Don't put your domain name on it.
I was actually talking to our friend about that as far as is it spam or not, and they actually were more relating stories of SEOs in 2001 that would register domain names for clients, and then they kind of backdoor them and say, well, you stop paying us, you lose the domain kind of thing. That's probably a little more douchey.
Again, a lot of web development companies did that too. It's not like it was just.
Oh, good God, yeah. I've heard so many stories like that back in the day, man.
Yeah.
Of clients with web developers.
It's not like that anymore. I think they actually register them in people's names. However, I did see GoDaddy owns one of the Canadian names that I wanted. They put it out there. You put the domain name in. It puts an ad up, says it's $56. When I go to use my special pricing thing, I get it for about $8. Suddenly, it's not available. What? How can that be that it's available at $56 but not at $8? Explain.
I'm getting daily emails at the moment from some company that wants me to buy a .com that I've got the .co.uk of that I've been trying to sell for 6 months. So, and it's the same sort of thing, oh, we think you'll be interested in this. They've probably only grabbed it after they've seen somebody's got it, and now they're trying to auction it off to anyone they think will be interested. Yeah, it's probably only me in the world, and yeah, I'm not interested. I'm trying to sell the .co.uk.
Yeah.
Frank was sharing something, but I haven't been able to read it myself yet, unfortunately, because I do love Eric Schmidt. He is a awesome dude. Yeah, so I don't know.
This is going to be a very unbiased piece, isn't it, from that headline? Google's mega hypocrite. Oh, no bias in this article, then.
Yeah, he's a quote machine, man. We used to love this guy. Yeah, I'm sorry, Frank. I can't even do this justice. That's why you should just come on the show instead of sitting out there, man. Yes, I will have to go through this one later. Folks, we'll put it in the show notes, of course, for those of you who actually go by the site. I'll have to go.
Yeah, well.
No entertainment from Terry.
Right, soon. Thanks to an EU ruling, you can't have things talking about him having affairs and, right to forget.
Company use your author tag more value than company rent sometimes. And what else has Frank got here? Frank has the search engine watch. Did your I'm just going by the URL here, but there's our educational piece. Did your manual penalty disappear? It probably expired. I've actually gotten that a few times, Eamon, don't know about you, but clients that I'm working with are like, it's not there anymore. So we're okay, right? And I'm like, no. It tends to come back harder the second time. Google has made those statements. They do expire. I think it's 6 months, isn't it?
They vary. I've seen ones that are literally 6 weeks. I've seen 3 months.
And they expired? And they expired? And then came back?
Yeah, those ones were much more along the algorithmic lines, more of a filter than a penalty. So you didn't get a notice about it being a penalty, but you could. There was a cliff face still. So you knew it had been hit with something. 6 weeks later, it's back, and they go, "Oh, we're saved." No. It just means that the spider hasn't been coming around as often lately. Any day now.
That's it, man. Crawl stats for the win. But crawl budgets, man. Another thing I never hear people talk about. Again, we live in a.
Don't know about it, Dave.
We live in a world of all there's links, this, social, that, guest posting. Does anyone ever fucking talk about shit like crawl budgets and stuff anymore?
We kind of addressed it a couple of times on a couple of shows, I think.
Well, I know you guys would. You know what I mean? I mean, like, just when I'm doing every week doing this show, I got to go out to all search engine lands and roundtables and everywhere else in between looking for content, and it's always the same shit, over and over. I don't hear stuff about the on-site elements too much.
And it's annoying because it's the only thing PageRank is still obviously used for. You know, you can still absolutely get a pretty good rule of thumb, a working one on PageRank to even toolbar PageRank. You can look at toolbar PageRank and tell them how many pages they can expect to be firmly in the index from that.
Agreed, my brother, for sure.
Yeah, if something says NA, it's kind of on the border already. It's got 1 foot in and 1 foot out.
Well, you know,
Yeah,
once upon a time, it was almost completely your crawl depth and your crawl frequency was based off of almost links. I think over time we started to see fresh content could up that. You know what I mean? If you're posting or creating new pages over time, like whenever we do a, you know, people are like, should I end 10,000 products or 2,000 a week? I'm always like 2,000 a week or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Keep that spider feeding it. You're feeding that motherfucker, and you want them coming back.
Keep finding new content.
Well, yeah, I think it's a cross of that. Once upon a time, it was almost seemed to be solely based upon external equity, whereas over time, it seems like a combination of the two is what gets you a deeper crawl.
I used to think that it was pretty hard to get something ranked until you got links into it and keep it in the index and crawl. Yeah,
exactly. There do seem to be two separate parts to crawling. You've got a fresh crawl, which is always looking for the new stuff. So if you're drip feeding, you know, you're much more likely to get hit with that. And then you've got the regular deep crawl, and that's the one where PageRank is absolutely going to be the determinant.
Yeah,
you know, you don't have enough
totally
volume.
agree, man.
You're not
because a
going to
lot
get
of the deep crawl is probably dictated by following links on other websites to your website from it.
Well, sure, that's how it works. To
It's
you know,
prioritized.
it's the random crawl, meaning Terry. It's not a Google PageRank isn't about like everything I find I crawl. It's more of a depending on the location, depending on the frequency of the links. If I was a user, would I crawl this? And so that's the concept of it. There's a mathematical percentage of should I crawl this one or not. You know.
That's more like the refinement, Microsoft's refinement of the intelligence server. Oh, was it Yahoo? But you know, the intelligence server, Yahoo did quite a few bits on this, so it might well have been them. Microsoft have done some things as well, but both of those refined PageRank to say, okay, well, originally PageRank was, you know, you've got X amount of links as an equal chance of taking all of them, whereas these were saying, well, actually, you know, links that are in the article are much more likely to be clicked.
Hey, I think Bear's going, and I'm gonna let you finish. I just want to throw in for the people watching, listening, or whatever in the future. He's made a very important point. PageRank was actually a Stanford paper, and the last I checked, they still own it. Using PageRank technology is for anyone. Like, there's Yahoo patents about PageRank. There are Microsoft patents about PageRank. PageRank isn't a uniquely Google thing, as people like to think.
That's whenever someone comes out of school and they've found something like that, Stanford owns the patent. Same with, that's why Stanford owns that, is because it was developed by the Page and
Bryn when they were there. Anyway, sorry, go ahead, Eamon. I just want to get that other so people understood what you were saying as far as
exactly.
Yeah.
Taking that one step further, if of course you read the original papers, the Stanford papers, there are citations there saying exactly what that's based on, and that, you know, PageRank was so heavily biased on two other things. The first one is that guy we're always talking about, John Kleinberg, his clever research program with IBM, and this is, if you are in SEO and you don't know that paper, don't call yourself an SEO. You should know what the clever project was and why it wasn't used, why PageRank was the breakthrough, and why PageRank is the dumbed down version, massively dumbed down. Because clever was
even stuff they do, like when I read papers today out of Stanford or wherever, things that work in small scale don't seem to work in large scale, and I think that was part of the problem with it. Is it was great as an intranet or an internal, you know, question and answer thing, but once you started to put tens of thousands of users in, it starts to break up.
It was simply that it took so long to process. I mean, Google was an iterative, reiterative.
Like that LSI stuff. Imagine that.
Very much like that. But you know, IBM's clever project, it would take a month to do a corpus, well, smaller than, you know, one data center. It would take a month, even with today's processing, to do it on that. And by that time, the link graph has changed so much that it's already out of date.
Yeah.
You know,
That was the problem with the first search engines that use that technology, eh? Not something. I think Look Smart
Nutsh.
owned it for a while. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the really clever algorithms, I mean, it was hampered by the company that owned it, was, of course, Tioma's version, which was kind of a topic-sensitive page rank right from the get-go. And the way they described it at the time, and, you know, the guy behind that, the guy who came up with that, he was a genius. He made even Larry's work look second class, almost.
Yeah, until you had to scale it.
It was that, you know, it looked at just the documents for this query and then applied PageRank within that. And, you know, fantastic, superb.
Yeah.
Now you know who on this topic was saying who was an authority.
Yeah, but
Perfect.
they couldn't really grow that index. That's why that didn't work. They realized they could not refresh the index fast enough to make it really useful, especially after Google was around it.
Part of it was when they first did that, Ask just made this huge mistake. They introduced their paid inclusion program, so they dialed back their crawling unless you were paying. So of course their database ended up much smaller than anybody else's. It wasn't a limit on the technology; it was a limit on their common sense based purely on the motive to make money.
Oh, I never realized that. Probably
Yeah.
I never bought ads. And Ask was never an engine that I targeted anyways, because, you know, if you're less than 10%, as far as I'm concerned, that's like a waste of my time in the client.
I just think it's funny you guys have fallen into calling it Ask. Since back then where we were talking about it was Ask Jeeves. So.
Well, this is it. Its name has changed backwards and forwards. You know, they got rid of Jeeves and then they brought Jeeves back. So, you know, Ask is the nice short version of it, and, you know, we can always take off the K and just call them Ask.
They just dusted off the old advertising, that's all. Oh, we need new branding. Well, we got some in the closet. Let's go get her out. Go to her.
But, of course, you know, the other thing that's funny about it is that they originally branded on the Ask Questions Just Like Questions. That Google's just brought back. You know, that was their advertising in 2001. Ask was saying, just ask us questions. In fact, years before that, when they were used on a different search engine, because Ask originally was just one of those fill-ins. Was it on Alta Vista? I think it might have been. Alta Vista had a little box that was Ask Natural Language Questions, and it was powered by Jeeves.
Oh, they were all cross-pollinating back then.
Before we run out of here, I want to go here for a reason. All right, so this particular one is, you know, I will get this to you the easy way, which is essentially some guy who has a client with, I don't know, 420,000 users, okay? So he's going off about that all too well-known problem that we all have these days, which is I've got 420,000 users, 1% of them see my actual fucking information that they follow my page to like.
Unless you pay.
Yes. Boost this post. My favorite phrase ever. So, I guess, I don't know, I wanted you guys to argue this one out for me, because our friend Dan Thies was on Facebook today making, I guess, a reasonably good point, which was the amount of real estate on someone's page, meaning on your stream. If a user has 400 friends, let's say, and they've followed maybe 30 pages of companies, that's a little bit of real estate for a whole bunch of information. So Dan was trying to, I guess, make the point that people that whine about this fucking shit shouldn't be, because there's only so much real estate available. Why do you deserve to be there? Exactly. So me on the other end, you know, I'm kind of 50-50 in that. Well, I guess, yeah, if people are engaging your page, then maybe show it to them more. If they're not, then don't. I don't know. What do you guys think?
That's exactly what it is. And, you know, the complaint people are making is, oh, look, I spent the time, I built up my audience, I've got 400,000 users, and now you're only letting me be shown to... Yeah, but you didn't, did you? What you did was you bought 400,000 users. You did a spammy, oh, like me, and thought that gave you right to be top of their stream forevermore. And guess what? It didn't. If they're not interacting with you regularly, If most of your stuff they ignore, then guess what? Your posts aren't going to be shown to them very much. If you have taken the other approach, even if you've only reached 10,000 users, but every single one of those is reading almost every post you ever do, is commenting, is liking, guess what? All of them are seeing your stuff because it's based on their interaction. And it's not Facebook holding a gun to your head. It's your own stupidity catching up with you. That's my take on it. Terry?
And I'd agree to a fair amount. You know, most of the dojo's engagement's actually in a private group, whereas our actual page, you know, we're really not engaging that much. We get the odd like, the odd comment, but nothing overly engaging like we have in our private stuff. So, you know, when Dan said that, I kind of took a second look at my own stats and went, all right, you know, like okay, I get your point, buddy. You know.
Let's look at what happens when you do boost the post. My experience, you spend a little bit of money. It looks like you're getting a bunch of traffic, but none of it converts. You look at the on-site, on-page metrics, they're usually very bad because most of the people clicking that stuff is the people who are trying to hide the fact that they're promoting other people's shit, is what it comes down to. All the scams, there's lots of information. How many times have we had this discussion on this show, Dave, where the guy was showing the numbers, showing that most of the people are from third world countries? How come you can't do that? How come you can't say, I don't want people from India? Just saying, you know, just saying. How come I can't say that? Right? Even when I just say Canada, they're using fucking proxies. They know they're using proxies. It's, you know, it's all a fucking game. They all hide behind shit that when you ask them, they won't tell you, right? Like ask Google. If someone's behind a proxy and you know it, what do you do with that click? They will not tell you, right? I also said to them, I'm in Canada. When I go into Frugal at that time, I see ads for American companies. Why is that? Because I'm seeing ads for a fucking company that I know I targeted only for the United States. Why am I seeing the ads? They would not tell me. It's all, I don't believe none of that kind of click stuff. I'm sure at some point we're going to find out, and you know, heaven forbid, that it's all a big fucking scam. That Facebook is all based on bogus clicks and bogus revenue, and you know, people, they know what's whatever. I just have no faith in it.
I'm not going to go that far, because if you do your targeting and you put something that, you know, is meaningful, if you put a good campaign on Facebook, it can kick ass. It can. And there's no way, therefore, that that's all bogus people, unless you've managed to get people in India buying it. And if you have, so what? You've still got customers. If you do a good campaign on Facebook, especially with the paid targeting, you can get really good results. Now, can you get them other ways? Of course you can. But the fact is that the targeted ads on Facebook, if you've got the right campaign that's hitting the mindset involved in people who are using Facebook. You know, these aren't people shopping. If you present the same thing on Facebook that you're going to put in commercial search terms, of course it's going to fall on its arse. These people aren't on Facebook to go shopping.
Well, no, and that's, Terry, that was always your thing, wasn't it? You know, that's the wrong approach. You're after mind share. You're after brand exposure. You're after, you know, you sell. People aren't going there to buy shit.
Even then, if you're selling stuff, if you're doing commercial search, but you're doing it optimized around the fact that this is going to appeal to somebody who is currently sat at home, almost like a TV viewer, that's talking to their friends and doing stuff like that, it'll work. It'll work because you've understood the mindset of the person that's involved.
And here's what I have seen, that Facebook ads will work if, say, for instance, you're an apparel company and you're targeting at Christmas time women. in other words, the people who are probably buying the gifts, you're in front of them, and you have people saying, "Oh, I like this," to pictures and stuff of your products. I've actually, before I even bought advertising, I saw sales by just.
Well, and that's it. Like the whole, like, you know what I mean, Am? And like the whole attribution of sales funnel, as much data as we have these days, we still don't have it all. You know what I mean? You've got brand lift, meaning regardless of where they, they see you on Facebook, they see you in a paid ad, they see you in a SERP, brand lift starts to take effect, and they start to associate your brand with that product. So true attribution of sales, we'll never know. It could be partially offline stuff that drove them online. Then they saw you on their face. What finally drove that sale? We'll never know. Like, people get too definitive with analytics. It bothers me because you never truly know attribution of sales.
But here's the way I kind of look at it now, too, Ammon. How do you feel about this? I think the day of driving everyone to your site is insane. You got to be where the people are and engage with them where they are and entice them to the site, not drive them to the site the way a lot of people out there still have that mentality. That has a lot to do with the changes that Dave and I have been making, is that instead of trying to have a dojo site, we're going to have all these private communities that whatever one you use, that same conversation hopefully is going to be going on in each one of those communities.
Yeah. We basically what we're
be where the customers are.
Well, that's it, and we're not thinking it as being a destination anymore. You know what I mean? As being wherever you are. We'll be where you are. We'll be there, and we'll foster. We'll keep the same quality control. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Before we run off, guys, and by the way, while Terry's mentioning it, we have to do a little pimping. The dojo is relaunched. Please come back, folks, and check it out. You can't just sign up. You need a sponsor. You need to jump through some hoops. But if you make it, you're one of the special people. It's like when Gmail was out, dude. You had to get an invite. Eamon? Yeah, we're playing that.
We give all viewers, if you're smart enough to be watching this show, that's 1 foot in the door.
Yeah, just say you heard it on Dojo Radio.
Well, as long as they can understand the show.
Yeah, well, yeah. You got to listen to it a few times. Takes a while.
You'll never understand me, Am, and I'm counting on that.
Terry's complicated. That's
the
word.
Before we go, man,
Don't they tell me?
I wanted to share something that I was, babbling about on the weekend. Anyways, it's not directly about these self-driving cars much, I guess, guys, but we recently we did some Google Indoor Maps sessions, and so we learned that Google can only track you with GPS till you get to a building like a mall or whatever. Once you get in, they have these little Blu-ray, or what are they? No, not Blu-ray. Fuck.
The beacons.
The little beacons.
Yeah.
So once you get in a building, each of these stores have these nice, sexy little beacons, and they can track you inside. I got thinking, Terry, Ammon, that is this the vision that you're at home watching television? It might have some Google TV integrated. You could be on your phone like my daughter is when she gets home every day. You could be in a multitude of your computer, obviously, and so you search for something, right? And it says, well, there's a deal over here. Okay, so then you push a button and your Google car starts up. You hop in your Google car, which drives you right to that fucking merchant's doorstep. Fucking you get out and go in and purchase from that door. Google could actually I'm starting to think they want to control you for their advertisers from your fucking living room to the merchant's fucking place. And just on your way home from the merchant's, hey, there's a special in coffee over here. Bing, 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 drive you in there too. It's like they totally, if you think about it on that level, dude, this stuff is getting just weird where I think they might be having their heads at.
I'd go a step further than that. I don't think it's even the car. I think Google are saying, right, in 100 years' time, you'll be in your home and a little robot will go out and either come from the store to deliver, or it will go out and get it for you. And, yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Remember, one of the things that the founders of Google are very...
That's it, eh, dude? You don't even have to leave the house. You're right. The car would go get it for you. It would notify the merchant that X number, car number, whatever is pulling up outside. Go put this in the trunk, and fucking it drives the product home to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, the store will probably send off a drone of the right size to carry the thing to you.
All hooked up through Google's merchant and da-da-da. And so
remember, one of the big things. one of the big things they're interested in is the singularity. You know, the idea where we upload our consciousness. Well, at that point, you know, you haven't necessarily got a body. So yeah, all of this investment in robots, all of this investment in you know, automating all of these things is designed for the time when you can't leave your home, because your home is on a server disk somewhere.
Plugged
Real
into the
sci-fi stuff that's out there, but that's exactly, you know, some of the stuff they are considering.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. I love it, man. Like, again, it's scary. As a geek, it's cool. As, you know, an Orwellian kind of guy, it's kind of freaky.
I'm hit with that old thing about, you know, if they made Star Trek teleporters. Now, what a teleporter does is it kills you, it destroys you, and recreates you a perfect copy of you somewhere else. But that ain't you. That's a copy. When they copy my consciousness to a disk, that ain't me. It may think it's me, it may have my mind, but it ain't me. I've just killed myself to be uploaded to a disk. You know, not sure.
Oh, don't worry, don't worry. Google's also invested in, Google Ventures is also invested in a DNA company that essentially you send them a hair or whatever and they keep it.
Yeah. Put your
No. The premise being, of course, for medical reasons, that they keep it on ice and whatever. But yeah, Google's invested in that too. So there's some.
You're immortal now. You know, the Pink Knight will live.
Well, no. Like Emin said, you aren't, but a copy of you is.
Yes, yeah, right.
There's a television series over here for years that was called Only Fools and Horses, and it had this very, very stupid character who's a street cleaner. And he shows them his award because he's had this broom for 20 years, the same broom. Wow, 20 years. Yeah, I've had to change the head 17 times and the handle 6 times, but it's the same broom I got.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Sorry.
Just think though how smart you could get. You could be eventually, eh? Wow.
All right, well, it's 10 after. We're going to let the folks go. Obviously, we'll stay here chatting and whatnot. Anybody wants me after show, let us know quickly. If not, we'll piss off. Anyways, folks, thanks you as always. Ammon, thanks for joining us. You're looking lovely in pink. I like it. Like I said, it'll be going in the show promo from now on.
Pretty in pink. The black and white is pretty in pink this week.
Terry, take us home, brother.
Yep, go make lots of money, folks.
There you go.